So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jason Martin. I'm the Services Executive here at DISA. Been here almost 18 years, and I've been working in the same space for almost 18 years, so I feel like I know this pretty well. But what I'm going to talk to you today is about the change and evolution that we're starting to go through, or that we started to go through a couple years ago, that we're really now starting to realize, and what we've been able to do and where we're going. All right, this is my domain with the support of Mr. Osborne, Mr. Closter, Mr. Rodakowski, Mr. Bennett. This is really what we've built inside of operations to run the DISA data centers and the DISA enterprise services. So everything you see on the screen today is really how we're operating at truly the enterprise level. So there was a question, we just left the media roundtable a couple minutes ago, and there was a question from someone in the media that said, how is DISA adapting to supporting the enterprise again after years of doing point solutions? Well, what you can see is what I'm doing with support of the operations folks to provide those capabilities. So you've seen us grow in a number of areas. I'm sure you've seen some version of this chart before. But about a year ago, we had a couple thousand users on the voice capabilities. Well, now we've got 85,000. We've also got a global footprint that you see there in the yellow circles. At the same time, we've also downsized the data centers. We've gone from, gosh, in the past 10 years, we've reduced 10 data centers and eliminated over $500,000 square feet of raised floor space. So we're able to continue to do all this through investing in these new capabilities by truly bringing enterprise solutions and really working across the enterprise to change the way we're doing business and to change the way that we, as a department, are doing business. I was out at AFRICOM last week doing a symposium on enterprise services and computing at the tactical edge. Based on what we've done in the past couple of years, we truly can now do things at the tactical edge. We've got big supporters in AFRICOM. We've done significant work over the past year with the Army to bring new solutions to the tactical edge, which the enterprise has really talked about for years, and we've been doing with things like DEE and DEPS, but now we're starting to do it with voice, UC, et cetera. So what we've really talked about on the services side of the house is how do we continue to do that? The next evolution that we're going to talk about today and that you see in the press and it's pretty much everywhere is cloud. How are we doing cloud? Well, what the agency has done with support from DoD-CIO is we went off and awarded the 2.0 contract. I was involved in the 1.0 initial build. We've taken that, evolved it into 2.0, and now we ourselves have put over 30 applications on the capability itself to date. So now what we've done is prep the environment. We've really brought up a capability now that people can use, leverage, and we're starting to run with that across the 4th estate and the DoD. And then finally, I'll get into a little more detail also, but what we're doing now and placing heavy emphasis on is really integrating us with the commercial vendors' off-prem solutions for cloud, with the secure cloud computing environment that we've built out, also known as the cloud access points or capabilities within the CAPS, we call them. So that's really where we've placed a lot of emphasis, time, and effort over the past 6 months, and I'm going to say we will continue to over the next year or two as we continue to move people onto the CAPS on the NIPR side and as we build out the SIPR CAPS. All right, this is really the foundation for what we've been able to do on the services side of the house. And I'm really just going to walk you through what it is that we've built and help you explain how we're now offering that to both the enterprise and the tactical level. You see at the bottom the IDAM capabilities. Lisa talked a little bit earlier about ICAM and IDAM and what they're doing from a mobility perspective and then to further evolve PKI. We've leveraged PKI. We've also worked with DMDC over the past 5 or so years to roll out enterprise services. Those enterprise services for identity management have been critical to not only building our enterprise applications, but now offering that service across the DoD so we have a single authoritative source of identity data to ensure that we have secure access to both applications, endpoint devices, et cetera. That is truly the underpinning and the foundation for what we're doing across the department. I've got 2 other services as part of that, which are push-pull services for identity. I actually worked an issue this morning with the Navy who needed the data sooner than what we were able to do it. So we pushed a few buttons and been able to move that a little quicker just to give the Navy, again, enterprise data so they can make enterprise authoritative decisions, something we couldn't do a couple years ago. Finally, to secure all that, big buzzword also, I heard someone say buzzword earlier today, VDI. VDI, we did roll out We did roll it out, though, not for the enterprise at large, but only for the folks that really have access to privileged information. So our entire privileged user base is now using a scaled-down version of an enterprise VDI. Very, very excited about that capability. Without giving you the real numbers, I'll give you close to. We've been able to eliminate over 200,000 user accounts simply by developing a single authentication solution and a single entree into that solution. So from a security threat perspective, threat vector perspective, that's pretty good. I mean, we dramatically reduced the threat vector simply by instituting 2 solutions that we worked with industry to build over the past couple years. They are FOC, and so we are really excited about how that's rolling out, and then we're just continuing to onboard more and more folks that manage applications inside of our data centers. And then we're in the process also, I don't know if they've talked about it on the innovation side of things yet or not, but we're also trying to offer that outwardly across the department so we can provide those same methods, TTPs, procedures, and tool sets to be able to provide that same capability to ensure that others can leverage those privileged user capabilities in their environments as well. I talked about MilCloud 2.0. Again, what we've built inside the data centers, the ecosystem data centers, is the authentication and identity mechanism for MilCloud 2.0. Also for the DISA data centers. As you likely know, the DISA data centers have changed dramatically over the past couple of years. I mentioned downsizing, but I've also, in terms of floor space and sites, but we have also dramatically reduced and changed how we run the ecosystem today. Don't come to me and say DEX. Those aren't a thing anymore, right? It's the ecosystem data centers. But it truly is managing things differently. We have 9 different lines of business now that are accountable to one person in Oklahoma City where the ecosystem is headquartered. They run all business operations in and out through Oklahoma City as a single entity, and then obviously we work with the cyber operations director to ensure that we report out, monitor, and manage the data centers accordingly. But that's also, again, out of that single foundational data point that we've run on the data services side of the house. Cybersecurity, I talked about. This is now the gateway for us, for the foundation to bring in off-premise solutions, to communicate with off-premise solutions, be it service providers, customers, data managers, data providers, et cetera. We've built all that out using commercial industry, multiple locations across the country, and in ways of meet-me points and various tool sets to provide those communication capabilities. We've done all that in conjunction with the data centers, and now those 2 groups work hand in hand to operate out of the data centers, those commercial access points. So in the end, again, really, what you thought you knew about DISA operations, DISA data centers, DISA enterprise services is dramatically different. We truly are a partner with not only industry, we truly are partners with our mission partners, and we truly are partners across the department and the federal government to ensure all this stuff works seamlessly. And it's just simply by changing a few basic fundamental and foundational capabilities to do that. So where I'm going, I mentioned all these things, but just briefly, data centers we continue to restructure will be done by 2020. So you will see a full-blown ecosystem managed via lines of business at that point in time. MilCloud 2.0, we continue to onboard folks. We do a significant amount of speaking engagements and daily, when I say daily, truly daily, multiple times a day, meetings with customers to ensure that they understand what they're coming into, how they're going to consume our services, what they need to consume them, and who they need to work with to do that. So I see that ongoing for the foreseeable future. Secure cloud computing architecture I talked about as well. We continue to evolve. We're adding bandwidth capabilities. We're adding monitoring capabilities, tool sets, onboarding processes, procedures, et cetera, to ensure we can bring on who we need to, when we need to, at the speed they need to be brought on. Virtual desktop I talked plenty about. Capacity services, I'm sure you guys are familiar with those. Those really, and I'm going to say revolutionized, but about, I think it's been 11 years ago, we awarded our first contract. They've been nothing but successful. We've continued to see prices go down year after year. We've continued to see partnerships amongst industry, amongst the various OEMs on both the hardware, software side, so I think that's been a great success. And it was interesting, I heard at the AFRICOM symposium last week, I heard one of our former mission partners who's now a vendor say, DISA has this really great capability, here's how it works. And I thought, that's not what you said to me a year ago. But it's great that they start to see that. Now maybe there's an agenda behind that, but I don't know. But truly, we have seen a lot of economies of scale and a lot of really big cost reductions across the department by using these or implementing this capability. 2.0 level 6, SIPR side of the house, we're working on that right now with our vendor to bring that up, which will be done the first part of next year. Tactical voice services, I touched on this briefly. We have, we brought this to the Army. The Army, as you may know, has, well, the Army has a lot of solutions. I'll leave it at that. What we've really tried to get to the Army to do is to be able to have them integrate into the enterprise, in turn saving all of us money. So I think we finally got traction. We've got some really good pilots going with true tactical battalions and a brigade, something that we've never done before. We're able now to communicate through snap and gate terminals with UC capabilities, something that the Army's not been able to do. So we were very excited about that, and I've got 4 pilots right now. I continue to do more. I'm also working with some other parts of the department to do that as well. So exciting times for us in that area. MilCloud 1.0, even though it was one of our forerunner in cloud, it's been good. We've taken the lessons learned and rolled that into 2.2 or in 2.0. So I think about this time next year, I would expect to see 1.0 be completely decommissioned and all the capabilities on to 2.0. The CAP I talked about, and then Active Directory Federation Services I also spoke about, and how we're trying to push that out to support mobility initiatives, cloud capabilities, et cetera. This is something that's incredibly important, again, for identity credentialing management, something that the department really needs and something that we've started to develop a little bit more and really push that out. So with that said, I have 30 contracts right now totaling multiple billions of dollars that I can't talk about because they're in source selection. So with that said, I'm going to talk about these 2. I have 2 maintenance contracts. One is the CA software contract maintenance renewal, and then the SkyWeb and enterprise messaging integration, sustainment integration, which is a capability we've had for about 12 years now, I think. So I covered a lot of stuff really quickly. But with that said, what questions do you have?
What are your plans for voice cybersecurity, especially where your networks intersect with commercial voice?
Oh, so great question. We spent a lot of time with Mr. Greenwell and the various parts of the department that do provide their own voice services. So what we've done in conjunction with our friends out at the Defense Global Operations Center at Scott Air Force Base, our AO, and then our vendors, what we've done is we've gone through and built packages and built network architectures to ensure that we are compliant with the necessary STIGs and monitoring capabilities. So we've done that hand in hand, I would say, with industry and within the agency. But there's no secret sauce to voice. We have enterprise standard capabilities. We plug and play. We plug in as needed. We've built 3 standard offerings to be able to do that. They are all very compliant, obviously, very monitored, and ensure what we've done is ensured through a series of, I would say, network optimization and or research initiatives, really looked at what made sense and how we wanted to build in those architectures, and we built them in, obviously, with security standards in mind.
What's the time frame and milestones for decommissioning the MilCloud 1.0 infrastructure?
So I don't have those on hand right now. What we've got is the number one priority is to move for us, to move 1.0 to 2.0. Like I said, I would expect about a year, but I don't control all of the applications in that environment. And as you all know, it's not as simple as just pressing a button and things move. But what we do have is our folks, or my team, is specifically engaged with every application owner in MilCloud 1.0 to migrate them. So I would expect that to be as soon as possible, but it takes time, right? It all depends on the application and how it's built.
Final question. With the OOB privileged user VDI solution being such a success, is there a plan to roll it out as an enterprise solution and possibly a DISA provided service to the mission partners?
How do I answer this without getting in trouble by my boss? My intent would be no. We implemented it for a very specific solution or very specific problem set, and I think we've been very successful. I spoke about this at AFRICOM last week. I know there's tactical units trying to do the same thing, but whether it's tactical or enterprise, the costs are unbelievable. So If I have a requirement, if I have a funder requirement, and it truly makes sense, I think we're happy to do that as an agency. But I think there's alternative solutions we can look at. But again, it depends. We're happy to help, obviously, but at present, I do not personally have a plan to roll it out in enterprise VDI.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.